Hey guys, Happy Man Talk Monday. For a couple of weeks, I've been thinking about this title, The Vow of Poverty and, not or, a $1 million dream. What brings me to this topic is what I've been going through for the past 2 years. I have been coming alive to the truth of my true identity and committing to following the path that unfolds. And honestly, it's been quite the adventure. To summarize quickly, I was in a place in life where I thought that dreams that I had had years ago had fallen into the abyss of, well, it's too late. You're too old. You're not good enough. The failures you've had are permanent. God can't use you again. But through focusing on truth in Scripture and connecting to a community like Brave Heart Men, the dreams I realized are coming to life. They're not dead. In fact, they're more alive than ever. So that led me to committing my entire life to walking this path of obedience, which has included stepping down from a job that I actually really loved, and the security and all the things that come with that, financial security. And so in stepping away from that, there's 3 major projects I'm working on right now. One is called Experience Redemption, and it's using film and theatrical elements and orchestra in a large concert setting with well-known artists. That's a big project. There's a Frederick Douglass musical I premiered this year. We're rewriting it now for another run in February and talking to professional theaters, and that's a big project for getting out into schools and doing all that. There's a documentary project we're doing, telling an amazing story. All of these are big dreams, and in reality, they're not the free kind. I've always believed that God is enough. He's El Shaddai. But I don't know if I've ever been in such a place where I have to trust that He's the God of enough. It's like having a vow of poverty and a $1 million dream. Now, I have to tell you I'm not studied up in the vow of poverty to understand it, and by no means am I in a position to talk eloquently about that. And I'm not in a place of poverty either, for real. But what I've had to struggle with is a poverty mindset, a fear-based mindset that there is never enough. From what a friend shared with me recently, a true vow of poverty is actually a commitment to recognize that nothing is owned. It all belongs to God. There are Jesuits who live out this life while at the same time running our large organizations. But it's not a math issue, it's a heart issue. What I'm finding for me in this time is how much fear loves to raise its voice and say, there isn't enough. You'll never have enough. This will fail. There's no way this will work. My natural reaction to hearing that voice is to grip harder on what I do have and fill my time with something, go work at Wendy's or something to try to calm the fear, to just get enough. But this is where you really have to move from belief to trust. I think most of us have heard a story from 1859, Charles Blondin, who was a tightroper across Niagara Falls. And it was, as he walked across the falls, it was an issue of how many believe I can do this? And he pushed a wheelbarrow across. How many believe I can do it with the person in? Everybody believed in it. And all right, who wants to sit in the wheelbarrow? And nobody wanted to sit in the wheelbarrow. What I'm finding out is that's the step of trust. Yeah, God, I believe you can provide for people. Yes, that's great. But here I am in a position that, do I need Him to provide for me? There's so many stories about this when I look in Scripture. And I'm brought specifically to Moses. Here he is, gone through his whole story, but in Exodus 3 and 4, he's in this position of God calling him, and he's telling all the reasons why it just won't work. And the Lord is saying, Moses, what are you holding in your hand? And he's got a rod. And he says, lay it down. Release it, lay it down. God does these miracles. Well, that rod ended up being a tool for miracles to come. Think of over the Red Sea. There was a time in battle. It was held over the people, and they were in victory until he lowered it, and they started to lose, and then he'd raise it again. It brought water from the rock. And that same rod that he had let out of his hand later, towards the end of his life, spoiler alert, became a problem as he picked it up again and said, must I bring water from this rock? And he struck the rock, and it turned into something that was his again. It was gripping, and there were consequences of that. But there are so many throughout Scripture. You think of Abraham, you think of Ruth, you think of the disciples who left their net to follow him. You think of the rich young ruler who actually didn't leave. He says, what must I do? And Jesus answered, lay it all down. And he didn't. Paul was a well-off religious leader. You know, he had gained all favor and walked away from it and considered all of what he had before that could be considered gain as lost for the glory of knowing Jesus Christ. Joseph in the Old Testament had his dreams taken from him, so to speak. He was in prison, but he didn't give up on them. He kept talking about it. And in due time, it all came about. Mary, the mother of Jesus, even her, she left a life, she walked towards a life of embarrassment by saying, be it unto me. There's also this story I love to think about is this Elijah had asked this woman, please give me something to eat. And she says, no, this is all I have. We're going to eat this and die. But then when she did give it up, it turned into plenty. And there's even more to come from that story because of her obedience. And there's just so many times that I find myself in now almost afraid to answer that voice to say, you know, oh, maybe I should go grab this path because it's easier, it's more secure, or whatever. I think the safest place to be right now is in the wheelbarrow. I think that's the safest place that I could be, is in the wheelbarrow, across, sitting over the Niagara Falls. You know why? Because the one who's with the wheelbarrow, he's the God of enough. He's the one who holds tomorrow. He's the one who owns everything. If it's his path and his plan, he'll find a way. And if not, there's something I need to let go of anyways, because I should be trusting him. What about you? What are you holding in your hand? Maybe it's not the math of finances. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something that you know God, that you're just like, yeah, I believe in God, but I don't trust him with that. I don't know that I would find out how worthy of trust God is if I wasn't actually trusting him, putting myself in a position to experience the joy of this relationship with Jesus. I am so desperate to hear his voice and Lord, what should I be working on right now? It's an amazing adventure. It's horrible and wonderful at the same time. But it's not horrible. It's just that part of letting go that sometimes is really hard, being secure. Well, I want to encourage you that whatever you're holding on to, lay it down, jump in the wheelbarrow and say, let's go. Because what's at the other end, you don't want to miss out on that. Don't miss out on just saying, God, I'm all in. I give it all to you. Whatever you want, take it. Let's go. I want you to make sure to like and subscribe and share the link for Braveheart Men. Be a part of this community. Contribute. Give comments about things that maybe you're hanging on to, if you want, that you're thinking about letting go. It's not always walking away from your career. It's not always walking away from anything. It's just walking towards what he has for you. And even though it may not be known, it's definitely worth it. All right. Have a great week, men.